Hello, again, it's me. So, welcome back to another session, another panel here at RGV Startup Week. It's an honor for me to introduce this amazing entrepreneur. If can I have your attention, please? Everyone that's here in the open space, do you mind if I get your attention? Thank you. Thank you so much. So again, it's an honor for me to present this amazing entrepreneur. His name is Irving Perez. He's an entrepreneur from the Valley to California in Adidas. His panel is called From the Valley to a Global Stage, A Journey in Sports and Fashion Design. If you can help me welcome him with a big round of applause, I would really appreciate that. I'm gonna pass it over to him, so please pay attention, take a lot of pictures, tag us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, everything that you have, and I'm gonna pass it over to him. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Hi. Let's sit down. Hi, so my name is Irving Perez. If you're asking why I'm here, I'm going to give a little bit of my background so I can introduce myself and why they brought me here to talk to you guys. A little bit about myself. I was born in Matamoros. Born and raised in Brownsville, Texas, and Matamoros area. I went to school here. Went to Sharp Elementary, went to Stell, went to Pace High School, for those who went there. And spent my whole life here up to when I went to college. And my whole life, I had this one passion, or a couple passions actually, that led me to where I am today. And I want to start by asking you guys, what is your passion? Because I want you guys to think about it and reflect on how I use my passion to get to where I am and succeed in the world of design and sportswear. I wanted to talk about my passion. I want to talk about how I use my work-life balance to still, be a leader, but also be successful at home, and also how I embrace my cultural identity, my experiences, my education, to be able to have a unique point of view, and how that has helped me to succeed in this world. So a little bit about how I started. I came back to the Valley after being at A&M and being in Houston. And my whole life prior to that, I had these two passions, which is drawing and playing sports, specifically soccer. Since I was a little kid, I would always put pen to pencil, draw your anime characters, draw cartoon characters, and I was pretty good at that. I'd say all the friends that I would have growing up would always ask me to draw for them, and even paid me at times. And then I also played soccer. I was part of the competitive world soccer here in the Valley. You also may well know that we're big. It's pretty big here. Played varsity at Pace High School, and even got to semi-pro in college for a little bit in a summer. So those two passions fueled where I am today. I remember when I was a little kid, I was about 11 years old, and I would sit down in front of the TV with my brother, and we would watch the soccer games that were going on, on TV. And I clearly remember when it was the year 2000. It was a Euro Cup, for those who know sports. And I was sitting down in front of the TV, and I was drawing what I usually draw, and one thing led to another, and I was like, well, what if I design my own uniform from what I see on TV and make my own? And that was it. After that moment in time, I could not stop drawing uniforms for soccer teams. And that was just what I always did, even in class, or whether that was, in my free time at home. I'd create these uniforms that I thought were the next big thing. And slowly but surely, I got better at it. And I would always kind of show my friends, and they would always ask me, why don't you do this for a living? And being from the Valley, I don't know if you guys know, we like to stay home. We like to be with our families. We like to be close to home, even if it's a little bit far away, close to home. I didn't know how to get there. I didn't know how to explore into the world of design and how to create these uniforms. I didn't know. It was just a hobby for me. Went to school at A&M, got a poli-sci degree in political science and philosophy. Was going to be in government. Was maybe going to be a lawyer. Was going to go the traditional route into my career, and I did. After that, I went to Houston. I was working in the nonprofit world for a while, came back home, and I began working at, if you guys know the region, a place called Pro Bar in Harlingen. They help undocumented kids at the shelters give legal services. I came back and started working there in 2013. So I did that for a while, working with the kids in the shelters, going around, giving Know Your Rights presentations, talking to the kids, trying to seek legal relief for these kids, and potentially get that, have that experience to become a lawyer after that. I met my wife there, and she, lucky enough, she was the one that, at the end of the day, propelled me to be like, hey, why don't you start, she saw me drawing, why don't you start pursuing this as a living somehow, start somewhere. So I did. Back in 2014, I did it. I had no knowledge about software. I had no knowledge about how to use Illustrator or Photoshop or any 3D software. All I knew to do was I knew how to draw my little figurines, my little jerseys on paper, and what I had to my disposal was social media, a scanner, pencil and paper, and my markers, and I just started putting my designs on the internet. There's just little communities that were out there back in the day that are still out there where people put up their designs and talk about them and rate them and just give you feedback about how you're doing and whatnot. And in these communities back then and still now, you would always see these nice, catted up, designs that were using computer software to create them. And all I had, again, was scanning my piece of paper. So I did that, and I started putting them out there. And people started reacting pretty quickly to my work, asking me who I was, asking me if I worked for Adidas back in the day. Pretty funny. And you know what? I just asked for feedback. I created friends, connections via social media accounts, and via these communities that I actually still have today. And it's been pretty wild to see those connections kind of go along with myself into the industry as well. But nevertheless, I started putting my designs out there in social media accounts and these communities without really realizing what the future was going to hold. It was just me putting myself out there, putting my talent out there, and putting my passion out there, and hoping for the best, and hoping for some sort of recognition, some sort of connection with who knows what would happen, right? That was what I was doing. And I was still doing immigration work here in the Valley in Harlingen, where I was with my wife. And, just thinking this was going to be a hobby that it was going to be fun to do. And in that time, I even proposed to myself to do projects for myself, fun projects that, would make me stand out from the crowd even more in those communities and online. So I put myself projects to do. For example, I would do a World Cup uniform for Mexico or for Jamaica, whatever the case may be, and put them out there in my social media account. At the end of 2014, I had just been doing this for maybe 8 months. I was not really active on Twitter, but I came back to my Twitter account. I had a message. I had a couple messages. There was a message from somebody from Brazil asking me to work with them, and there was a message from somebody from the UAE to ask me to work with them. I would get these a lot, so I didn't really think much of it. I asked questions, and then the people from the UAE, they told me, hey, we actually want you to become our designer for the Jamaican national team uniform for the 2015 Copa America. And I couldn't really believe what they were saying, right? But I took the word. I talked to them via Skype, which back then it was, now we have Teams and whatnot. So I talked to them via Skype and saw their faces. They're like, yeah, I really need you to start working today because we need to produce those uniforms by the summer. This is January of 2016. So my wife and I, we consulted. She's a lawyer. She's good at paperwork. So we said yes. I said yes. And while I was still doing immigration work, I had began my career as a designer part-time, working at home from Texas here in Harlingen. And they were in Abu Dhabi in the UAE. They had just opened up their brand. They were looking to sign teams. I did the Jamaica uniform, and that was the how President Fox said, the gut punch, or the spark that led me. That was the beginning of it in my career. So I went from doing immigration work in the day to early in the morning, late in the day, doing my designs at home, consulting with my family and my wife, and sending these designs to the UAE, and having, hopefully they would make them and they would become the uniform of these teams. And this is a lifelong dream that I couldn't believe this was happening so quickly. But that's what I was able to kind of transform. I use my passion to get my foot in the door when it comes to this industry. So here is the drawing that I did back in 14, that got me that message from the UAE brand, or my sportswear. This was my own project that I did, that I put out there, that randomly got seen on Twitter because of a hashtag, and now I'm here, right? And then on the side there is some of my work that I did, post that work. So in 2016, after a year of working with this brand, I decided to embark in finding an education, a formal education design, because as you've been following, I did not have any formal education design. I was limited in my skills and knowledge in the industry, and when I started poking around at jobs, nobody was interviewing me. So they saw my resume; it was all the legal and poli-sci, and there was nobody really giving me a chance. I tried looking for schools that would give me either an associate's, a graduate degree, a bachelor's degree. And lo and behold, in 2016, I always knew that I needed to be in Portland, Oregon. And I don't know if for those who know, Portland, Oregon is where Nike and Adidas have their headquarters here in the United States. I always knew I needed to be there somehow to be able to be surrounding the industry, right? So this program, an MBA program, came out that year that had a little bit of design in it. So I said, let me apply to that program. I did. I actually got through to their whole interview process, and I talked to the director. This is the beginning of 2016, and so she told me there was a design program coming out that summer, and to wait for my opportunity to apply there because that was a better fit. It was a program coming out of design and product innovation, so I waited, and in that interim, the brand came back and asked me to work with them full time, and they would pay for me to go to Abu Dhabi and work from there. That was a huge risk. Obviously, my wife is here. She was at the time director of ProBar, the immigration services nonprofit, and it was a scary time because there was a lot of moving parts. I didn't know what to expect when it comes to the new culture that I was going to be in. Moving across the world, I had never done that. I had always been here, and the furthest I had lived was Houston and College Station. So there was a new adventure, and one of the things I want to pass along is, when you have those opportunities fall on your lap, I say take them. You never know where they're going to take you. So what I did was consulted, tried to figure out what I was going to do. So I said yes. In my mind, put a pause in going to school. I moved to the UAE in May of 2016. So I moved to Abu Dhabi. My wife stayed here. And was going to do this full time. I left my immigration work and started working over there that summer. And in that time, we went through a hard time. We had a loss in our family on my wife's side. A lot of things was going on, and the actual program for design actually came out in that summer. And excuse me, I'm a little cold. I'm getting over a cold, so if I'm a little nasally, I apologize. And I decided to start applying to that program that had just came out. I did kind of halfway. We had the loss in the family. Came back home for a week, and then went back to Abu Dhabi. Decided, you know what? We were gonna have a wedding. We were gonna get married with my wife back then. And I don't know if you guys know, in the UAE, if you work there for a year, it's tax-free. So all your money goes to you. So that was our plan. And I was over there, and I got a message from the director of this program. She asked me, she's like, hey, I see you have a half-completed application. Why don't you finish it? And I was like, oh, if you reached out, I guess I should. So I did. I formally applied. She reached out to me the next day. We had an interview. And in that interview, I thought I did horribly. I did not know how to do pattern making. I did not know how to do design via software. I did not know how to do any of these formal skills that many in the industry have to succeed. I didn't even know how to make a presentation. And that was, design worthy. And I just told her that I had a raw talent and a raw passion for this work that I was starting to embark on. And that was my pitch. It was, I have a passion. I'm good at it. I know I'm good at it. I've done a lot even in my early career without having any formal background. And she said, okay. And I hung up. I thought I was going to stay there for a year. I didn't think I was going to get into this master's program in design. And lo and behold, a day later, she sends me an email saying that I had gotten in. So basically, I was in Abu Dhabi. I had to come back that same summer to move to Portland, Oregon, to begin my master's degree in design. And that was quite the tumultuous time, but I came back, and very grateful for the opportunity that the brand gave me. And I moved to Portland, and I started my master's degree. And this was a great immersion in the world of design. I got taught by people that are in the industry for 20 years, working for Nike, and it was a great experience to be immersed in that world finally. And it was a very intimidating environment. I was surrounded by people who had been doing this for again 20 years, but also that went to school prior to that and were going to get their master's degree in that same subject matter. So I had to compete and make sure that I was at par, however it took, to be able to stand out from the crowd and also present my work in a good way. So that was a 2-year program that I immersed myself in. In that time, for those who obviously go to school or still go to school, went to school, you try to find internships and opportunities outside so that you could practice your skills and get experience. And I didn't have any of that, so I was looking for opportunities, and I found an internship at Adidas. Adidas was taking interns at the time, and I applied to their internship program. I got all the way through to becoming an intern in the space at what they call the U.S. Sports Department. And at the end of the day, my internship got canceled because the person who was going to be my supervisor was promoted and couldn't handle an intern. So I actually fell through right at the last second. So that summer, I didn't have anything to do other than to come back home and figure out what my next step was in that summer. Lo and behold, a week later, I got an email saying that there was an opportunity in Adidas Basketball as a contract designer. From intern to be an opportunity to be an assistant designer as a contract employee, I said yes, flew back to Portland, and I started at Adidas Basketball that summer. And I've been there since. I went through a couple of, a year of working full-time and learning the industry full-time and also going to school full-time. I do my master's degree, as you see here on the left. And it was, immersive experiences where I learned everything I needed to learn at a fast pace. It was grueling, but very much worth it when it comes to all the things that I learned, all the connections that I made. And then obviously whatever the output was, which was, at least in my master's degree program, I did a project that got some attention after the fact, and that was, which I'll talk to you in a bit about. But it was a very fulfilling project and a master's degree to be a part of. And that is when I jumped to Adidas. Building my career, some of the things that I did here are kind of the highlights of my early career. You can see the Jamaica uniform that made it to the Copa America, that made it to play against Messi and all the great players that you see today, and some of my basketball designs that I did for NCAA colleges at the beginning of my time at Adidas. One of the uniforms I did back for an African nation, Senegal, that got some accolades as well. So the reason why I put this up here is to show some of the building blocks in my career and how I kept on stepping into major or more prominent roles at where I work. And I took these opportunities gratefully. I took these opportunities, with that fighting spirit that we from the Valley have. I always knew that I was in this space in a privileged way. Not everybody has the opportunity to be here, and I always look back to the community here and say, I'm a representative of the RGV. I'm a representative of Matamoros Brownsville, and I always took these projects one by one with pride and gratitude, and I was able to show my worth and my vision, my creative vision, to the people that I work with, at Adidas, and just to know that I'm here just to note that I'm here on my personal behalf. I'm not here to representing Adidas. I'm just here telling my story, just to get that out there. But yeah, these are some of the pillars of my career at the beginning that helped me jump into more leadership roles as my career went along. At least I'd still say I have a young career. And every one of these projects represents a step forward in my career. Being able to show my vision to my colleagues and to people around me has been quite the blessing. It's a very competitive environment. Everybody's trying to show their worth and show their vision, and I've been very lucky to be able to show mine and be successful in that. It's been quite the journey. Just seeing these, at least for myself, seeing where I was and where I'm at today. It's been quite. I've been grateful to know that this is something that led me to where I'm today. And what I did back then is I started doing sports product innovation. I used my knowledge from sports. I love, like you say, love soccer. I use all my knowledge from that. I use my knowledge in my education. I have a very unique point of view when it comes to the industry. I'm surrounded by people who went to design school, and I'm an outsider to them, basically. I come with the knowledge of political science. I did immigration work. I had my point of view of a sport outside of the sport that I work in that informs me on how to do my work. So using, again, all my passions to be able to fuel my creative vision in this space has been very useful. And I would say to everybody here, use your passion, embrace it, and find a way to create that story, create those opportunities, and use that to put yourself forward. After I started building my career, I was able to take a leadership role in the industry, in my team, and it's been a fight. I've been having to really be competitive in my creative vision. But now, where I am today, we went from being in Portland, Oregon, and they moved our department to Los Angeles. So now I'm in LA. When we moved to LA, I was able to take over a lot of the creative vision and leadership role in my team, and started really putting my hand in the space of basketball. You can see here some of my designs that I did for the brand, and how I use these projects again to keep on showing what I could do, keep on showing what somebody from the Valley could do at this global stage, and showing that there's talent here. And every one of these projects was a stepping stone again from where I was even prior, and showing that my work can show up well in the global stage. And it's been very gratifying to be able to build what we call franchises. Think of the iPhone. Think of things that are very recognizable in the space. And in the space of basketball, this is some of the things that I was able to build for our brand, for the brand I work for. And then again, the major space that I am now in, we do what we call collaborations in the brand. And one of the collaborations that I've been very lucky to be a part of has been collaborating with the designer Willie Chavarria. If you guys know the space, He is two-time American Designer of the Year this year and last year. He is Mexican-American from California. And he's very active in the community, and he definitely does a lot of, how do I put it? He's outspoken in the world of immigration and Mexican heritage. So it's been quite the honor and blessing to be a part of this collaboration. So far, we have two collaborations. One that appeared in New York Fashion Week, and also this past January in Paris Fashion Week. Again, going from a boy who was drawing jerseys in front of a TV in 2000 to be able to be showing work and designing in a collaboration that was showing in Paris Fashion Week and New York Fashion Week, it's full of gratitude and it's been quite the honor to represent the Valley, represent my family, and be a part of such a big project that not only got recognition in the world of fashion, but also in the world of I want to say social political world, where the things that were done in these events, I quite outspoken in the world of politics. So it kind of fuses all my passions into one. Representing the community, things that I've done in the past, doing immigration work, and then bringing that fuel to the space and collaborating with such a great designer and such a person who is at the top of the world in design. It's been quite remarkable for my own self. And again, a show of what your passion can do and how it can guide you to be where you want to be. And some of my moments that I want to show apart from these. And I feel like I'm plugging in my moments shamelessly, but you can see here that my first ever project in design, appeared versus Messi in the Copa America back in 2015. Now I'm part of the brand, and hopefully, maybe wear myself eventually. And in the second, my capstone project in my master's degree, I told myself I needed to do a project that was, in the same space, but also innovative for me and different for me. So what I did was I tried to innovate in the space of baseball. So I basically said to myself, I did a hypothesis and was basically redesigning the baseball uniform for the future. And a couple years later, after I did that, I got an email saying that they wanted to use my design and my work to appear in the museum, the Worcester Museum of Art in Massachusetts, in the exhibit called Baseball and Fashion. And it was an exhibit for 50 pieces where you saw things like the Elton John Dodgers uniform that he wore in concert, to, you can see the black uniform there in the middle there. That's my uniform, as they picked my work as the future of the space in baseball. And I got to go there and take some pictures, and it was pretty amazing to see my graduate school work be selected and be a part of a museum exhibit in Massachusetts. And it was quite the honor. It appeared in the book as well, and it's pretty remarkable to see that. And also another thing that happened in that museum exhibit, just to kind of put that into perspective, there was another person whose work was also featured there. And I connected with that person, and that person asked me when I connected with them, "Are you Irving Perez?" And I said, "Yes, I am. How do you know me?" And he's like, your work inspired my work, and my work is also in the exhibit. And that was quite this circle, small world, right? And that was quite remarkable also to see. And then on the left, you see the Senegal uniform I did. It was recognized by ESPN as one of the 101 best uniforms of all time. Mine were 101. That's quite amazing to even be a part of that. And then on the bottom, you see some of my basketball work, being part of the NCAA championship, doing my alma mater. All the A&M uniforms are mine, my designs, and it's been pretty cool to see doing that. And then, obviously, my Fashion Week work that I did in collaboration via Adidas with Will Chavarria has been a great experience as well. And talking about connections, part of this, obviously, this startup opportunity is to build connections, making sure that you're connecting with people that you need to be connecting to be able to make community, but also get opportunities in the future. Here you see, my first opportunity with UAE brand, where I designed the Jamaica uniform. So basically, making connections with people from the Middle East, completely different culture, and making connections that hopefully last a lifetime. And also, you see some of my previous crews from Adidas that we work in Portland, a very diverse group of people from all around the world. So I'm having to represent the Valley and represent Mexico and work with the people from all around the world has been also pretty amazing. And now this is at the far left, you see Willie Chavarria, who I'm still obviously connected to, working with the collaboration at Adidas, and learning, from him and learning how he sees the world has been very eye-opening for me, because obviously I come from doing sportswear and focusing on teamwear, and seeing what I could do in the fashion space has been quite. I didn't think that was ever going to happen, and it's been quite eye-opening. So who knows in the future what's to come? But a lot of the projects that you see coming out for us, you see a lot of my eye, you see a lot of my passion in it. And all while this is happening, keeping, as I was going to say, the work-life balance. A lot of the things that has also where I've been standing out at work is being able to hold that work-life balance. Is very important to be able to, we have kids and we have a family, and also being able to be committed to your work. And even while having the work-life balance, being able to be a leader in the space has been quite, it's hard work, not gonna lie, but it's also very fruitful to be able to show your colleagues, that it is possible to have that work-life balance, and you don't have to kill yourself to make it happen. While there's moments that obviously I did kill myself to get to where I am, you have to also choose your moments. So these are the connections I've made throughout my career, and I'm very grateful for them. Obviously representing the Valley and representing my family and Mexico as well, and still holding strong. Hopefully this still continues, and I remind myself every day that this could be the last day that I work here. This could be the last day that I do what I do for a living, and to always be grateful to where I'm at today, the privileges that I've had to get where I am, and that is a part of the fuel that I have every day. I tell myself, I wake up, I say, I'm grateful to be doing this at my work. If I'm complaining about whatever it is that's going on at work, I remind myself that not everybody has the opportunity, and I'm representing a community here. And it's been very being far from home has been hard, but it's very fruitful in the sense of being able to be back here and give this information back to the community. Hopefully somebody here or whoever takes this story as fuel, takes the story as somebody from here did it, I can do it as well. And there's many avenues you could take to be able to get to where you want to be. No matter what your passion is about finding the tools, being vulnerable and asking questions. One of the things that I did a lot using my connections is asking questions, not being shy, that you don't know everything and you don't know a particular skill, a particular, in my case, a pattern or a color or a design reference, but also embrace your point of view. Embrace where you come from, embrace your culture, embrace your experience and your education, because you never know when the opportunity is going to fall in your lap, and you're going to be able to show that story and show that worth that show that unique point of view. I'm using my political science background as well in the design space. I mean, it's weird to say, but I am, and it's part of my storytelling ability that I use in my favor to be able to stand out from the crowd in the space that I deal with every day. So I don't know where I'm in time. I mean, I don't know if we're doing questions or not, but if we're not,
yeah, definitely. Irvin, thank you so much for coming down and reconnecting.
yeah. Yep.
So that sounded like a really unique and special MBA program. It was an MBA program.
It still is.
So it's an MBA program.
Well, the first one that I applied to, the second one was pure design innovation.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for grad school, I went to the new school, which had Parsons, and they're really big on if you come from first gen, something like that.
Right.
There's a lot of institutional support.
Right.
What were some blind spots but they still don't know what the hell to do with that.
Right.
Which is a good thing
Right.
But number two, they don't know what the hell to do with this.
Right.
So like, what are some blind spots you saw in those spaces that kind of alarmed you maybe, or maybe room for improvement, or maybe even something that inspired you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, how do I put it? Blind spots were my knowledge. I mean, I wasn't very knowledgeable in the space. I came with very little knowledge, and I think that's one of our. I think coming from the Valley, it's a little bit to our detriment. We don't have a lot of fine arts classes here in the Valley. I barely even did any fine arts here in the Valley myself. You know, I maybe did a class here and there when I was a kid, maybe a competition here and there, but all this was self-taught. And I think the more knowledge you have and carry with you into that space, the better you're gonna do. And trust your skills, practice at home. Don't be shy to ask questions and reach out to people. Maybe they'll help you as well. One of the things that I didn't have was I don't have a mentor. I didn't have that connection to a school. I basically reached out, failed many times in reaching out, but in that reaching out, find one opportunity and found my foot in the door. So basically not being scared, asking questions, knowing that the more knowledge you have, even if it is coming from outside the industry into it, just consume as much knowledge as you can, because that's what I did without even knowing, playing soccer and playing, I don't know if it goes into the game FIFA or whatever the case may be, being very well versed in what I know, and my knowledge really got me to where I am today. For example, when I was doing my drawings, the way we work in the industry was we work 2 years in advance, so I basically work in the future. So right now I'm working on 2027, 28. And one of the things that I set out for with my work was that I was predicting the uniforms, even in my own little drawings in the hobby, 2 years in advance, and there was almost one-to-one, and I have my family here to verify that. So being able to know the industry, know how it works, asking people, making those connections to know how it works so that you can also bring that to the table when you're being asked questions and being interviewed in these spaces. So making connections is one of the, like this for me, was a blind spot, but I overcame it and with knowledge and talent. Yeah. But hopefully that answers your questions. Yeah. Yeah.
Let me give you the mic.
You mentioned you work kind of 2 years in the future.
Yep.
Project-based, whatnot. What's kind of influencing you right now, like in your designs, or it could be anything, music, visual, styling?
Right now we're gonna see. We're seeing a lot of influence in soccer, which is again my bread and butter. So that's been quite the blessing. But outside of that, obviously Willie Chavarria. If you don't know his work, go see it. It is fueled by Mexican culture, a Chicano culture in California, by the farmers movements in the mid-century, 20th century. All that work is influencing him, and obviously influencing myself and influencing the world in design. It's very much rooted in the Mexican culture or in Chicano culture in California. So what I'm trying to do is use that as an opportunity to, what is it about our culture, and how do I use my culture even more to be able to have my own even further unique point of view, whether that's details in clothes, whether that's details in silhouettes, or whether that's details in visual identity. And by visual identity, it means like logos and whatever the case may be. But looking back here actually is what I'm trying to do recently, given that opportunity that I have at work. So definitely using Mexican Chicano culture, Mexican American culture from here in the Valley. Mexican culture itself, it's very big right now. People are looking over here for the World Cup, and that's coming, and they're using the Latin American culture as a big source of creative design, if you will, whether that's architecture, whether that's clothes, whether that's shoes. It's very much in the now, right now. It's coming, and definitely using our vast great culture that we have here as my influence. Apart from, you obviously see the trends coming up and whatnot. You see in the Super Bowl, what's his name? Kendrick Lamar wearing bell bottoms, and now everybody's wearing bell bottoms. Stuff like that. You kind of get in when you're in the space. You kind of get a little bit ahead of that, and you see it coming. But always think about 20 years in the past. If you think 20 years in the past, what was happening then? It's kind of what's coming. So that's kind of how I do it. Yeah.
I had a question. Irving, thank you for sharing your personal journey. Highly impactful. So just kind of a random question. Say you have a genie in the bottle. You got one wish. And this is more specific to your career, but over the next 10 years from now, what's your wish as far as where you would like to see your career at? What does that look like to you? It's a loaded question, but where do you see yourself in 10 years, wish list?
I mean, it's thank you for that question. Appreciate it. It's twofold. I have a family, I have young kids, and one of the things that I look for is being, a stable family, stable adult, and having a stable future. So one path could be, staying in the brand and developing my career and moving up however much I can. Being a stable, father figure that in that way. And the other route is obviously the only other route in this industry for myself is having my own brand, having my own space, and creating that world that I'd like to create or would like to create at some point in time. It's difficult. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort away from family and away from raising your kids. So that's where I'm at today. Yeah, it's either considering being that stable worker or a stable person in the brand, and also always considering what the alternative, which is a potential personal brand of my own, and seeing how where that takes us. Yeah. Anything else?
Hello. Unfortunately, that was our last question.
We could talk in a bit. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But Irvin, thank you so much for coming back down to the community and reconnecting and really showing us how we can continue pushing and using our creativity to enter new spaces. If we could get a round of applause, please.
For sure, thank you. And here's my QR code with my information, here's my portfolio for anybody who wants to see it, and I'm also open for conversation after this. Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Awesome. Before you guys leave, we do have another panel here at 3. In the meantime, in the next 5 minutes, if you want to grab some drinks or a snack. Thank you.
Thank you. A picture? Yes. Sorry, okay.
Another announcement?
We are having a few more sessions